The head honcho of hair loss is back and in your face, here to drop some knowledge on you, the unskilled behavior concept. Man, I love emotional intelligence. I love connecting this to hair loss, because a lot of people come here thinking that I'm the savior of hair loss. I'm going to help you prevent your hair loss and stop your hair loss. And no, that's not my intent. I am here to help you instead to overcome your hair loss internally, psychologically. So I'm all about emotional intelligence. One of the things that I have recently learned about is something called unskilled behavior. Unskilled behavior. Assuming you've never heard that phrase before, let's try to figure out what that might mean. So unskilled, so you haven't figured out yet how to behave in certain situations. And children are definitely the epitome of this, aren't they? Well, even as adults, we still, if we don't have the life experience, then chances are we are ultimately not going to know how to act, which is what brings you here to this channel. It's my responsibility as your mentor, your hair loss mentor, to help you figure out how to behave. So here's what I did. On my phone right here, I Googled unskilled behavior. That's all I typed in. And I downloaded this one thing. It says examples of skilled and unskilled DNA V behavior. So, and what it has is a chart of highly skilled behavior, unskilled behavior, and then specific examples of unskilled behavior. It looks something like that if you're able to see that at all there. So if you're able to download that or check that out, that's what it would look like. So what I want to talk about today in this video is for us to see how predictable. So many times I've said, you reduce me to hair loss, I reduce you to psychology. And you look at this and it totally makes sense. As I am going to be talking about the highly skilled behavior, you're going to see, oh yeah, that's Nick Shell. Let's start there. Here's examples of highly skilled behavior, and let's think about hair loss the whole time and the things that I talk about when it comes to hair loss is the perceived problem. Okay? Highly skilled behavior, that's Nick Shell and some of you. Highly skilled behavior. Some traits include, number one, uses verbal beliefs based on past experience, reasoning, and teaching as guides for effective, valued action. Number two, can notice when the advisor is unhelpful and unhook from it. And an advisor can be whatever the voice is, whether it's the voice in your own head, whether it's other people around you, whether it's people in the comment section, the advisor. We can't assume that the advisor is right. And in a way, I'm an advisor. Okay, but let's keep exploring here. And then the last trait of someone with highly skilled behavior, understands that emotion control efforts are often problematic. Okay, so we'll talk more about that. I'm always talking about how you alone get to decide who affects you emotionally. That's always a choice, right? Okay, so moving on, now we're going to talk about the inner voice, the advisor. But one that is unskilled versus one that is skilled. So here's some traits of people who watch this channel. Maybe they're not quite obsessed with losing their hair, but they're bothered enough by it to search it on the internet and come across my channel. And my, how many videos? Like 2,600 videos, something like that, about hair loss. Okay, so this is someone who's kind of in between, not quite skilled yet, but definitely not like the sky is falling. And we'll get to those people in a minute, who we call the hair loss haters. But someone who is listening to that inner voice and needs to hear the voice of someone who has highly skilled behavior. Okay, so here's kind of the in-between. They're on their journey. Okay, that's a lot of you, probably the majority of you. So here we go. First one, relies on verbal beliefs based on past experience, reasoning, and teaching, even when they are unworkable in terms of value and vitality. Number two, doesn't make use of verbal beliefs that are workable and might serve as a guide for effective action. And number three, uses verbal processes such as rumination, blaming, worry, and fantasy to control emotions in a way that interferes with valued living. So it's still, so many people will still watch my channel thinking, even though Nick keeps saying he's not trying to help anybody prevent hair loss, he's trying to help them overcome it psychologically. They keep watching my video hoping that one day I'm going to change my mind and, you know what, I've discovered the cure for hair loss and here it is. right? It's hanging on to that idea of a fantasy that we aren't truly going to lose our hair. Now, lastly, let's talk about someone who's the opposite of me, who has unskilled behavior. They do not have the life experience that it will allow them to know how to properly behave and effectively deal with, psychologically, with losing their hair. These are what we call the hair loss haters. These are the people who say that I personally need to go to Turkey and get a hair transplant, that I need to take Propecia. These are the people who refuse to accept that I make this channel to make money, as opposed to personally being worried about my hair loss. Those are the hair loss haters who will always be among us, especially in the comment section. These are the people who will always give a thumbs down to my videos no matter what. Here they are. Unskilled behavior. First one. Low sense of social worth or self-efficacy interferes with valued action. So they're so self-centered in thinking that they're worth less because they're perceiving that they're losing their hair, that therefore they don't believe that they're worthy of social interaction, etc. Number 2, has negative evaluations of emotions and is intolerant of emotions. And that goes back to emotional intelligence. Number 3, sees thoughts and feelings as barriers to valued action. Yeah, again, so caught up in your own negative, hellish fantasy that you can't perceive reality, right? Next, is attached to unhelpful rules. Next, makes extreme or too general conclusions about the self, others, and life. Example, quote, I'm always screwing up, end quote. Thoughts that do not aid valued action. And and then the last one, experiences excessive worry or rumination, end quote. So you can kind of see how that gradation occurs. You have someone like me who has the life experience, and I took some of my own notes to make sure I covered everything here. Someone like me who has the life experience, because I was writing down videos for ideas, and one of the things I wrote on here was talking about how my confidence comes from experience. My confidence doesn't come from, oh, well, look at me, I'm a pretty handsome guy, or I've got all these things going for me. And I think a lot of people, especially in their youth, assume that confidence comes from what if I look good enough, if I have enough hair, if I'm tall enough, if I'm funny enough and educated, and all of these things, if I'm all of those things, then people will like me and I'll be worth something. I teach, nope, life experience more than anything is what matters. However, there's definitely truth in if you pretend that you're confident and you figure out how to be funny, and you are kind to people and people like being around you, then you can, in essence, fake the life experience necessary to have the perception of skilled behavior, which ultimately, going back to Steve Martin on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, there is no difference between real confidence and fake confidence, which is why you need me in your life right now. You need a 37-and-a-half-year-old man who has the life experience that you don't have to help you fake it till you make it. People don't value you for your hair. They value you for your confidence and the perception, at least, that you have this life experience that matters so much. Something else in review that we covered just now, talking about unhelpful rules. Hopefully what you can see is everything I teach in my videos about overcoming hair loss psychologically is about helpful rules. Things that are going to help you graduate out of caring about hair loss to where you do not see hair loss as part of your identity in a negative way. But there's all these unhelpful rules, and we hear them all the time in the comment section. No one will marry me. No one will date me. I'm not going to be able to get a raise, or whatever it is. People think that their value is attached to their hair. Nick Shell knows better than that. And that's why so many of you are addicted. And I'm not exaggerating. So many of you are addicted to my channel. And I don't mind. But it's just so funny that so many people leave all these negative comments saying how bad my videos are, but they keep coming back. The free market has spoken. Even if my videos are awful, you keep coming back because you know that there's truth in there. You need a valid advisor, not your own advisor in your own head. You need someone with that life experience. So it's a matter of unattaching to those unhelpful rules and knowing that your inner voice is not necessarily a voice of reason. And unhooking also, in addition to unattaching from the unhelpful roles, also unhooking from that negative advisor. I've said it for years now. No one needs a hair transplant. They need a brain transplant. You need my brain. If you think that a hair transplant or a full head of hair, propecia, whatever it is, if you think that is what's going to make you happy and confident, you're wrong. You need a brain transplant. That's the whole agenda of my channel. I'm not trying to keep you from losing your hair. I'm trying to make you like me. I can't make you do it. And a lot of you have what's called identity protective cognition. Anything I say that goes against your value system only reinforces what you already believe. So if you already believe that you're worth less as a man because you're losing your hair, anything I say is only going to build that belief stronger in your mind. But some of you are open-minded enough to realize, I want to be like Nick Shell. I want to be able to think and perceive reality the way he does. I'm glad you're here. I am your positive advisor attached to me.